Mihaela from Beading Treasures, and I want to share with you today this bead tapestry finishing method using UV resin. Now, this is not the only method to finish a tapestry. There are several different methods, and we tend to have our favorite, but this is the fastest method without having to weave in or knot the ends that I've found. So, all of the materials are available on Amazon. I will add the links for you below. Before I start, I want to share with you that I did do a test to see which one's better, the UV resin or the nail gel method. And I found the UV resin to be better because it's more viscous. That means there will be less pooling at the bottom of the tapestry where you can feel hard bumps, but you cannot see them to the naked eye. Maybe if this was a darker bead color, you would be. But this is a transparent gel, so it will show a slight bit, but not all that much. Now I did do a stress test on this to see how well it holds up. I folded it in half all the way back like this. I don't know if you can see that very well. And I did break a bead. I did it on purpose to see the warp threads underneath. So it does break, but you would never bend your tapestry that far anyway. The warp threads inside, they are hard. They've been cured with resin. So this method actually works. So what you need to do first is, while the tapestry is still on the loom, you will need to weave in extra threads to fill up the beads inside. I'm using 9B thread, and it's taken me 5 threads across inside the beads. So the original weaving is 2, and then I added 3 more threads to fill up those beads inside. Now it depends on the size of your bead, and it depends on what size thread you're using, but the objective is to fill up those beads inside. Now once that's done, I recommend that you put a wide tape across on the threads to keep them in place so they're not all over the place. It's not such a big deal when it's really at the end there. You can just comb them. I use a pet comb to do that. The wide comb, just comb them down and then add your tape and hold them in place, because you do not want any crossing of the warp threads when you do the resin. It's not a big deal, especially if it's going to be covered by a frame, but it does look neater if you don't. After doing that, let your tapestry rest overnight so that the warp threads themselves will shrink up if they need to inside and will not warp your tapestry once you do add your UV resin on there. This is a good idea to do in any case with any finishing method. Even if you're knotting or if you're weaving your threads in, let it rest overnight after it comes off the loom. So mine has rested. I have my warp threads taped down. The next step to do is to use a painter's tape. Now, use a painter's tape and cover the area where you do not want the UV resin to go. I'm only going to be covering the last row, and I've found it to be just enough to cover the last row and put UV resin on the last row of the tapestry. You don't need it any more than that. It will hold because we filled it up with threads and that stopped it from moving so much. But it's not a big deal if it goes for more, but this is just in case you make an error. You don't want the UV resin to go on other parts of your tapestry. Just we will try to control what we can. Okay. It's pretty hard to see this with the camera in the way. So there, that's better. Right there. You want the UV resin to go in between, in there as well, to hold that thread in place, that warp thread in place. So now that I've got those in place, the tape in place, and the row is all aligned, I can show you what UV resin I've chosen. Now this is the hard type. It is transparent. It is the best recommended online, least likely to yellow with time. Now mine is going to be covered with a frame, so I'm not very worried about any yellowing, especially with the clear beads at the top. But if you are worried about any yellowing, then since this method is just starting off, I haven't done any long-term test on it, please use another finishing method. Weave your threads in or knot them or however you like. So this is the UV resin I'll be using. I'll be using the glue tip. This is a glue tip. It comes in a pack of 100 or more. These are disposable. Make sure your UV light is off when you're opening, anytime you're opening your UV resin. This goes on top like this, and then you can use it. I'm going to do that now. I'll do that now, and I'll show you how I use it. Just want to mention first, though, that I will be using an eyeliner brush to spread this. So it's a bit tricky. Get it aligned to how you like it. I'm going to be going like this. Not pointing down, but just going to put on top like that as far as I go. And make sure you can actually get in between there. There. Alright, here we go. So you'll see the UV resin coming through. Just make sure that it's even and you're not pushing too hard on it as you go along. So I'll put it down here and move it along. You're not going to be using a lot of this resin. A little goes a long way. This 100 ml container will do a lot of tapestries. Okay, so see how I went over there? It's not a big deal because I'll be taking the tape off. So here we go. So I've got it in between there, and I'm going to do another row underneath here. Now I'm using a silicone mat, not map. And when it's done, this UV resin will pull off the mat. It will not stick. So you need to use this to protect any working surface you're working off on. Okay. So you can do this in sections if you like, but I'm just going to do it all at once, then cover my UV resin, and then use my light to cure it. Okay, but I will be curing this in sections. Okay, so this is done. I'm done with the UV resin. Now I'm going to go over with my brush. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go right in there and get the resin in between the rows of beads. I don't know if you can see this, but I'm getting it right there onto the rough threads. Can you see that? Making sure that's even in there. Now it's a good idea to apply the least amount possible and then go over again if you need to, and then apply some more. But I find that this is enough. Okay, so pushing the row back down against the other beads and coating these rough threads, these warp threads again with the UV resin. There we go. Okay. Now, the next thing to do is to take the tip off. Okay, so take the tip off and then close your resin bottle before you turn on your light. Now I've already tested my light and I know it's working, but you test your light to see if it works before you actually do this. Okay, so this is my light. It's my UV light. and I'm going to put it away from the tapestry, like over here, away from the tapestry about 4 inches, pointing down at it. And then you will need to set your timer for 8 minutes. So I'll turn on my UV light after that's the UV light on, and set the timer for 8 minutes. Now you want to take this slow and slow. I'm using the timer on my Apple Watch for this. You want to do this slow and slow, which means the light is away from the tapestry for 4 inches. That helps it cure slowly. And since it's so far away, that means there's not much heat on it. That means it's going to cure slowly as well. Other lights, such as the gel lights, they don't do that. They actually are closer and have a higher wattage than this light I'm using. I'll put the link for you down below. It's okay to have it exposed for longer, but not underexposed. If you do underexpose it, it will be sticky. And if it's sticky, that means if you touch it, it will leave a print. Sorry, I had to remove this at this stage. If you touch it, it will leave a print. And sometimes it's hot to touch as well. You should have removed that tape before putting on the UV light. I'm so sorry about that. But then it was too early in the stage. That doesn't matter. So, light pointing down for 8 minutes. I'll get back to you when it's done. Okay, so that section is done. Now we can do the second half and set the timer for 8 minutes and then point it down. You can prop this up. You don't have to have to hold it the whole time. I just wanted to show you where the lamp is, about 3 to 4 inches away, pointing down. Okay. I also want to mention that if you do have any accidents or any mistakes with the UV resin, you can clean it up with 91% alcohol. This is 99%, it works really well. So 91 and above. You can also clean your brush that you used to get all the UV resin in. Clean them with the alcohol. It does the job really well. Even if your hands are sticky, just clean them with the alcohol, it's okay. And then wash. Also, this does not have a very strong smell, but if you want to put some protection on a mask on or anything, then please do that. Remember, no natural light. Close those curtains, and close your UV resin bottle before doing this with the light. I'm going to finish curing this for 8 minutes and I'll be back. Right, so my 8 minutes are almost up. I have 30 seconds to go. I just want to mention now that you can feel this side. It has cooled down, you can feel it. And if it's sticky, go back again for about 3 minutes. But now at this stage, you can bring your UV lamp closer to your work because it's less likely to warp. Okay, here we go. Time is almost up. 5 seconds. And then we're going to turn this off and see how we go. That's it. Okay, so I can feel it. It's a bit tacky. It's not sticky. It's just a bit tacky. I'm not going to touch this side just yet. Let it cool down. It's a bit tacky. And so at this point, I can remove this tape. And then I'm going to bring in my lamp closer for 3 more minutes. I'll go 3 more minutes. Right, so now I've done 3 minutes on both sections of this side of the tapestry. I'm turning my lamp off. And here we go. Oh, it feels completely hard and not tacky at all, which is great. Let's see what it looks like on the opposite side. I don't know if you can see that, but it's not obvious at all. And there is a very distinct hard line there. Now, I'm going to do the same on this side, and then I'll show you how to get rid of all these warp threads. See? Okay, so now the resin, UV resin, has been done on both sides of the tapestry. But I just want to mention at this stage, since everything is done, you might want to clean your brush with the alcohol so you can use it next time. Otherwise it will harden and you will stop being able to using it. You can use a cotton pad to clean it with the alcohol if you wish. Another thing, you can now use the tape on this side like that. So what you're going to do now is use a good pair of scissors that you can use to get really close up to the beads. The smaller the scissors is on this side, the more control you will have. So you can use some nail scissors, but nothing that you would use with your thread for beading, because this does take a toll on the scissors. So what you're going to do now is put your glasses on if you need to. You're going to come, I'll do it on this side. You're going to come really close to the beads and then just cut these warp threads as close as you can all the way across. Now I'm not going to do it now, the whole bow, but I will show you what it looks like with just this little bit here. Now, at this point you can use a thread zapper, but you will have to give it breaks so it doesn't heat up. I like to use this, which is a USB lighter. I will say though that it tends to make these nylon threads go a bit brown, so you may want to use something else. So I'll show you how this, oh, gotta turn it on. I'll show you how this USB lighter works. I don't know if you can see this, but it got rid of those threads. The good part about this lighter is that you will not need to change any tips on this, and it is rechargeable. Okay, so now that I've done the dark beads, let's see how it looks like with the lighter and clear beads. Can you see the thread running through these beads on this side? So again, I'm going to go really close and cut these threads as much as I can. And then using this USB lighter, see the color there? That's what it looks like. Let me see this angle. So I'll finish the whole tapestry and I'll show you what it looks like. Back in a sec. I want to mention that you need to charge your lighter while doing the tapestry. The charge does not last for the whole of it. So I had to charge for a bit and I'll go back and zap the last bit here. And then we'll do let's test to see how good this method actually is. There we go. So this is what I mean, that you do not need to be placing the tips, because you can actually go like this and it will zap the threads for you. So I don't know if you saw that. You can actually go like this and zap the threads. Oops, run out again. Okay, so moment of truth. This is what it looks like. Down the bottom, I want to show you where a bit too much was applied, and this is what it looks like when you applied a bit too much. Okay. And this is what it looks like on this end. Those little dots I was telling you about. It doesn't look too shabby when it's flat. Not visible at all, especially if it's going to be covered by a frame. Now let's do the stress test. So you can see the threads inside the bead there, and I'm pulling quite tightly on these beads. And there is bendable, it does bend, very fluid. Okay. And that's the tapestry done. The worst part was waiting for this thing to charge and waiting for the UV light to cure the resin. It's a very easy way to finish the ball bends. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed zapping those threads at the end too. Now, after this is done, you will want to take it outside and put it in the sunlight, just in case there are some spaces in between and inside the beads that did not get the UV light. Sunlight is much more powerful than the UV lamp. And that's it. Oh, and this pattern is my design. You can get it from Beading Treasures on the website. And that's it. I really hope that this method of finishing the warp ends would encourage you and not hinder you from weaving large tapestries. I know I'm going to be using this method often. Really effective. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.